Hey everybody, YouTube has given me a ton of opportunities to meet people I never would have met otherwise. And so today, work is, it's winter time here in Ohio, it's February, work's a bit slow. And so I'm taking an opportunity to go and meet one of the friends I met on YouTube. And we're just gonna go around and look at some big trees. You might know him. His name is Osage John. He comments on a lot of videos and always has good stuff to say. So you might already know who he is, but either way, we're gonna go and we're gonna look at some cool stuff today. Some trees are hard to get down, some trees are just plain big, and I'm just gonna talk about them. And I want to take you guys along for the ride. It's not the usual thrilling excitement of, taking a tree down, but it's still some cool stuff. So if you have any kind of appreciation for big trees and that kind of thing, this will be a video for you. Okay, so our first stop here is at the cemetery in Lodi, and there's some really big and really old rhododendrons, and people come from miles around to see them when they're in bloom. They're not in bloom because it's February, but this is what they are. It looks like just a big bush tree maybe on camera, but they're actually like abnormally tall and abnormally broad and just overall huge. There's actually what's that structure called on the other side?
Mausoleum.
A mausoleum, there you go. I probably should know what that is. There's a mausoleum that's actually buried in there somewhere, and you can't even see it from this side. But they're compared to the truck, I mean, you can see they're twice as high as the truck at least, if not 2.5 times. It is February 10th, and they've got buds on them. I'm not an expert. Maybe somebody else can weigh in on what the hardiness is, but I think they don't grow real well much farther north than we are here in Ohio. They might grow, but even here, I know they don't do as well as they do in Kentucky. I know that down in Kentucky, they just grow wild in the woods, and you can see them, they're just growing on their own terms. And up here, I don't think I see them in the wild too often. They're kind of only where they get put. But yeah, super cool. Very interesting. We'll go on to the next one. So we're here at our first big urban tree, and it's a silver maple tree, and it is just absolutely massive. It is right here between this house here and then this house here, and we just measured it, and it's 77 inches in diameter. We used a logger's tape and went around it. We can't really do it at breast height because it's, there's just so much taper going this way and then root flare going this way. But it was 77 inches in diameter right around here, and then we went around the widest part right here at the base of this big union, and it was 98 inches in diameter according to the tape. That's not really a round part of the tree anymore, so the whole pi equation doesn't really work, but it was, to give you an idea, it was 26 feet, half of my 50-foot logger tape it took to go all the way around that tree and back to the same point. So it's just an absolute mammoth of a piece. I don't know if we were to measure from like right on that squirrel feeder there, right across there, I would have to say we're looking at more than 8 feet across. It would have to. Maybe I'll even put the camera down real quick and measure and see what it come up with. So just going across there, right here is 10 foot. So it's probably the widest part of any tree that I've ever seen, actually. Aside from big trees out west, those are big too. Way bigger than this, but we're gonna get up there real quick and see what the diameter of just that part of the tree is. What do you come up with? 39 inches in diameter?
Yeah.
Holy cow. That's nuts.
Crazy.
My 36-inch bar wouldn't even make it through there. Is there any chance we can get around that portion? What'd you come up with on that side? 76.5 inches. Holy cow. 72 inches is 6 feet, so that'd be 6'4". That's actually right around the diameter we came up with down here.
Which is interesting.
Which is very interesting, because all the water that passes through this part of the tree gets divided up into those two portions. It's absolutely huge. We're thinking that spar up there is probably 75 or so feet up there, which is pretty tall for a silver maple in an urban situation. It also reaches way out over there, and it reaches so far out over top of this house that it has been line clearance pruned for the telephone lines out there. So it pretty much reaches the entire length of this house. I mean, the back of the house is right there. When we were talking to the lady that owns this place, she was telling us about how there's a picture of her house back in the early 1900s. I think she said like 1907, but I can't remember for sure. And in the picture, this tree is here, and she said it's even large in that picture. So now we're here you know, 110 years later or so, and this tree is still doing great. And you know, there's plenty of trees that are 100 plus years old, but I don't know if I've ever cut down a silver maple that was more than 100 years old. They're fast growers, and they, you know, they have a shorter lifespan because of that. And it's just, you know, it's just a really unique specimen, I think, here. Alrighty, on to the next one. John's taking me around in his truck. It's a 12 valve swapped F350. It's a pretty cool truck. It's got a 5-speed transmission in it. I think it's NV 4500, and you just listen to it start up here. Oh yeah, just the way we like it. We're out here at another cemetery here in Lodi, and there's this huge white oak tree, and I can't say for sure. No, I'm pretty sure I can. It is definitely wider than it is tall. It's just an excellent specimen. There's John. You can see him standing right there beside it. We measured it, and it was 56 inches in diameter. We measured it with the logger's tape, and so that's 4'8" inches in diameter, which is absolutely huge. It's 4.5 feet around, plus a little. It's got some really good examples of compartmentalization, some wounds that were taken off and have healed real nicely. And you can just see it's a great tree. It could use a little bit of help. It's got some limbs that are crossed and that kind of thing up there, but it's just an absolute monster. It's been here for a long time, I'm sure, and it looks like it's going to be here for a long time yet. Not a lot of deadwood or anything like that in it. It's just really cool. Here's some spots where it's healed up, where some larger limbs have been taken off the bottom of it, and it's got a number of these all the way around, but that's the biggest one. It's just really, it's for one encouraging to see a tree having success with that. You know, I feel like all too often I see big limbs getting lopped off the bottom side of a canopy and them not healing shut very well. So it's good to see that this tree has had the opportunity to respond and close those up. But it's interesting to look at it from down here. I mean, that all the way up there is not real far away, but all the way out there is a lot farther away. And I don't know if the camera will really show that real well, but actually that would actually be up farther way up there. That one kind of goes down a little bit, but just super interesting. I'm going to back up and show you. The prevailing winds have been pushing on this tree and have been probably the largest influence on this tree, and so it leans a lot in the direction of the prevailing wind. Well, you can't see it real well because of the spruce tree here, but you can still get the general idea. The outer perimeter of the canopy is right here on this side, the trunk is right here, and then the outer canopy is way over here on this side. And so we're facing south right now, and so we get our prevailing winds from the southwest and the northwest primarily. So all the wind's been pushing on it this way for its entire lifetime, and it's up on a hill here. I mean, there's not a lot that's shrouding it from the wind. And so it is, I assume, I mean, I'm not an expert, but I'm assuming that that's been a large influence on the structure of that tree. And I don't know, I just think that's really cool. I mean, even if you look around here, that spruce tree's got a little lean to it, that one as well, and this one also. So, wind is hard on stuff. This is a really nice stand of white pines here they've got in a park here in Medina County.
I'm guessing that these trees were all planted, you know, in the late 60s or so. Seems to me that the state had a program for farmers to plant trees instead of crops, and they ended up planting a lot of white pines and Austrian pines.
Okay, that's interesting.
But if you look, they're all in a straight line, so.
Yeah, well, I was looking for the lines. Are they lines along that we're walking along? Because I don't see them. Oh, I guess, no.
Yeah, if you look back, they're all pretty straight.
Okay. That makes sense.
Well, and look at those on the ground. How long is that?
Oh, yeah, they're all laying there still. That's super cool.
And, you know, white oak has a pretty slow decay rate, so.
Yeah.
They've been laying there a long time.
You can see the collar structure and everything, and that's very interesting. I bet. No, that cavity is independent from that one. This is cool because super old trees like this can be standing out here in the woods for as long as we want. We don't have to worry about them hitting anything, which is really neat. Yeah, look, that one tore out. There's a tear out right here, and it tore all the way up above the limb there, which I'm guessing was probably this limb here. Yeah, that's a big old limb. I wonder if it died before it tore out? No, that can't even... Maybe this is just smaller than it was when it fell. Because that wound up there is way bigger than the wood that's on the end of this limb. You can even kind of see, you know, when it came down here, it did some damage, knocked some stuff off, and the tree is healing now because of it. Yeah, the camera will never capture the sheer magnitude of this thing.
And unlike the other tree, this one is relatively tall.
Yeah, this one isn't short like that other one. So it had to have had some level of competition, I would think, right?
I would think. So people will look at these giant oak trees that are by themselves in a field, and they think that it was a corner marker or property marker or some such thing. And a lot of times they become that, but originally they were the biggest, strongest tree, typically a white oak or some such thing, that a mechanical winch would be anchored to pull all the other stumps. So they'd run the cable out in a radial pattern around the tree to clear the stumps. So you end up with one tree that's the biggest one around, and it just wasn't worth cutting down and getting rid of, so it just stayed there. And it also provided shade for animals when they were plowing and whatnot. But as time goes on, they just get bigger and bigger. And you know, if you figure the land around here was probably cleared 150 years ago, that tree wasn't nearly as big, but you know, it was still big enough that it wasn't worth spending time and energy to dig out one stump.
Yeah, and yeah, because there wouldn't be anything left to pull that stump out with. There would be
right.
just
all your stumps are gone, and
just
that one is just like, yeah, we'll just leave it.
Okay, we have a logging tape here, and just want to let you guys know how it works. So they have the inch markings figured out here with pi, so that way you can measure the tree circumference and find out exactly how big it is in diameter. So without having to do the math. So this one's 65 inches in diameter. So that's 5 feet 5 inches. Which is absolutely massive. Yeah, and there on the back, so you can see it is 17 feet 4 inches in circumference. 17 feet. Oh my goodness.
That white pine that's right beyond the swing set is just, I mean, it's a crazy white pine. Like I said, it looks like an upside down octopus.
It absolutely does. And it happens so low in the tree. Yeah. This tree looked way smaller from across the way, but now we're close to it. And what's interesting is it's got some very large leaders that took over while the main leader was still present.
Yeah.
You know, maybe it looks like it, I don't know, it's hard to tell, I don't really know, but it looks like maybe it had died. So maybe that's what happened. It died out and the sides took over, the laterals took over, but yeah. Man, this is even a long way. Most of the time, they redirect and they're not that far away.
Right. And then you've got this big one here that goes out and then it sweeps back and then it sweeps back out. And
yeah.
You know, it's just crazy.
And it goes codominant up there too. And then there's this guy that's like reaching way out, which is, I'm surprised that thing has got enough integrity to hold on there through the ice storms and stuff we get here. Same thing on this side. Got this one here. That's a big old limb reaching way out. And it goes out and sweeps back too. That's mighty intriguing. I wonder what the deal is with that.
I'm wondering if it isn't wind load that has stressed the branches and they grew that way because they're continually flexed.
It could be.
Just a thought, because I'm I don't know.
No, I don't either. And maybe somebody can enlighten us in the comments. I don't know. But this one also goes codominant up there at some point. Not as clearly as the other side did, but yeah, look at this. All grown together right here next to each other. I don't know if they're grafted there or not. I don't know if I've seen enough white pine. I don't know if I've taken apart enough white pine. I've never taken apart anything like that, just to be clear. But even just look at the mass of the wood right in here compared to the, I mean, the base of the tree is about the right size for the canopy of the tree if you step back and look at it. We'll look at it from ways back here in a minute, but it's just a massive amount of wood right there for the size of the girth of the trunk wood there. And then all these spars are all so close too. So as you see, we backed up here and you can see that the canopy, I mean, it kind of fits the size of the trunk. It's not proportionally disproportionate. That was a brilliant way to say that, but you know what I mean. Quite an interesting tree. So John has walked me out through an old golf course that they've converted into a really nice city park. It's really cool because it was a golf course. They've got concrete paths and it's got some hilly terrain. It's just really neat. And he actually did a bunch of work here clearing out hazard trees, and the park asked about removing this tree, and between different thoughts of different people and everything like that, they ended up deciding to keep it, and I'm really glad they did. It's an absolutely incredible red oak tree. So this is it. And if John wasn't standing there, it wouldn't look like it's that big, but it's absolutely huge. And as we look up to it, I mean, I haven't measured it, so I don't know for sure, but quite certain it's 100 feet or more. I mean, there's no way it's not. And I know that the camera will not do this tree justice, especially with the dark background, or, you know, with the sun in the background, not being able to get you a great shot of it. But it is absolutely magnificent. I don't think I've ever seen a red oak this big. We'll measure it in a second, and I'll let you know, but it's just absolutely huge. Those two leads up there have got to be like 36 or 40 inches around, and they're got to be like, I don't know, 35 feet up there, something like that. So what's even more interesting about this tree is if you come around to this side of it, it's survived with substantial structural flaws for a very long time. I mean, all the way up through there, this big lead that reaches out above us, it lost a big limb out of there at one point, it looks like right there, but even up above beyond that, there's substantial wound healing from big tear outs. And it's just incredible. I mean, this tree's probably been like this. John was showing me earlier, you know, just the amount of growth it has. What he describes as ram horning, which is a new term for me. I'm not familiar with that. I don't doubt that it's the appropriate term. It definitely makes sense, but where the tree curls in around as it does as that callus wood doesn't have a surface to grow on and close the wound. But it's grown in there all the way like that. It's been there a long time, and it's just stood the test of time. And that was part of the reason why they decided to keep it. I mean, every tree has its limits, but if it's been here for 300 years or something like that, and survived, there's been tornadoes in this area before, even within the last 5 years or so, and it's taken a beating and stood up to the test. So that's just a really cool specimen. I'll try to get some shots from farther away. So this tree is 15 feet and 6 inches in circumference and 58 inches in diameter. It's almost 5 feet in diameter. That's really big for a red oak. I've never seen one that big, ever. All right, here's another perspective of this big red oak tree. As you can see, it goes up in there, and actually, I don't know if I can make it so you can see it, but there's actually sunlight shining through right up there. You can actually see all the way through that part of the tree. That's incredible. I don't know how it's still standing. That's amazing. But John and I were just talking. He brought up an excellent point. He was asking me if I thought this tree had more wood volume in it than any of the other trees we looked at today. And I think we both came to the conclusion that we think it does. If you have different thoughts, you know, we looked at that huge silver maple. It's a close competitor, but this thing has just got, I mean, it's got probably 40 feet of log that's 5 feet in diameter. I mean, that's just a massive amount of wood. But if you think, tell me what you think. Let me know in the comments which tree that we've looked at today has the biggest volume of wood in it. Here we are. This is another view of that tree as we're walking away from it here, and it's just absolutely huge. It just towers over everything else. It's an absolutely magnificent tree. On our way home here, John wanted to stop by a cool little job he's got coming up for later in the year. There's this sycamore tree that's leaning out over a creek, and as the bank is being eroded away, the tree continues to lean into it, and you can tell that by looking at the structure of the tree. So I guess they put an angle gauge on it one time, and it's leaning at about 27 degrees now. But if you look at the tree, you can tell that most of its life it's spent chasing, you know, the sun straight up. It's not like it's got a bunch of growth on the high side of the trunk wood reaching out this way. And there's nothing else around here for competition that would have put phototropic pressure on it to send it into that lean. And so we were just talking about it and kind of thinking here, and we're kind of guessing that the tree as a whole might weigh as much as 20,000 pounds or so. You know, sycamore is pretty heavy stuff, and it's got, well, it doesn't matter how much it leans as far as the weight of it, but that's 20,000 pounds that is leveraged out over the bank there in a way that the tree did not grow to support it. So as a tree grows in a normal condition, it actually puts on wood, we call it reaction wood, to help support it, you know, if it's got a lean. So if it's leaning in one direction, it'll put more wood on that side of the trunk to help support it. This tree does not have that internally because it grew standing straight up. You know, it grew right here, whoop, just like that. And so as it's leaned over, that change in the tree has happened at a speed that is probably incapable of keeping up with in the means of wood production. So it's likely that the center of this tree, the heartwood, the pith, is actually still in the center of it. And that's just a really interesting thing to me, and I would think to anybody else who likes trees, to know that it can stay standing this way, even though it theoretically doesn't have the structure to do it. It's just a really cool thing. So that's going to conclude our tree tour for today. The sun is setting, and it's looking pretty beautiful over there. But looking at trees and filming them in the dark tends to not work out so well. So thanks for coming along with us. Thank you, John, for taking us on a tour.
Sure thing. It was fun.
Oh, good. I'm glad you enjoyed it too. I think he said there's some more trees to see. We're going to see them another day, so keep an eye out for that video. We'll probably wait until it's a little bit warmer, but I think it'll be a good one too. By the sounds of it, those trees are going to be even cooler than the ones that we saw today. So thanks so much for watching, and we'll catch you on the next one.